Assalamu alaikum guys, I'm just popping by to show and tell a bit of what preserves food. Now in the quarantine, of course, you're gonna need food that lasts a long time because you don't want to have to be running out to go and get more supplies and more food. So what foods do last long and how can we make foods last long? What methods can we try? What methods do you use? Please leave it down in the comment section below. I'd love to know, how do you preserve your food to last longer when you're in quarantine? Number one, you can use drying methods. Drying and dehydration methods remove all the moisture from food, so that helps it stay and last longer because of course moisture, breeds mold and deterioration and degradation of anything, whether it's fruit or meat or whatever it is. If you however dry it, for example biltong, which is known in the States as jerky, which is basically dried meat. Now, of course, that preserves meat. The fact that it's dried from all of its, moistness and fluids means that it can last a long time. So that's a very good thing to keep in your stores, is beef jerky, whatever jerky, and a biltong as we call it in South Africa. The second thing that would be really awesome to try is bulk boiling and freezing food like lentils, beans, pulses, peas. Asians call it dal or dal, whatever floats your boat. So yeah, what you want to do is blend those, boil them, and then freeze them if you have freezer space. Now the other thing about preserving food is freezing. You can of course freeze your food, but the problem is in South Africa right now it is quite a problem where load shedding, which is getting more and more prolonged. We're gonna have to switch. That means there's no electricity. What do we do then if there's no electricity? That means your freeze is gonna be off for hours at a time. And if your meat is constantly thawing and refreezing and thawing and refreezing and thawing and refreezing, it's going to breed some sort of bacteria. Which may not make freezing the best option for us as Africans. And I know it's hard, and I know it is absolutely something that you can't even imagine, but it is the reality. And you need to start thinking about how much of frozen food that you are stocking up on, because for an entire freezer full of meat to go to waste is an absolute catastrophe. If you've ever opened a freezer to find meat gone off, it smells like a dead corpse in there. Maybe you have maggots and just disgusting things, and the stench is just awful. So yeah, it's not a pleasant thing at all. And if you're in quarantine, the last thing you want to do is go outside and have to wash it, or just take it out of the house. You don't want to have to leave the house because of nastiness like that. Freezing is an option, but if you're in a country like South Africa where we do have load shedding, it is a thing, it is a reality. You want to just try and not depend too much on freezing. Also, check your plugs. If you are freezing, check your plug points often, because sometimes when the helper is cleaning, this happened to me many times, the plug got switched off, and only after days, sometimes even weeks, I would check the freezer and everything, trust me, everything was off. And it was the most vile and disgusting swimming pool of blood and disgustingness. Anyway, I don't want to talk about it. The other thing that you can use for preserving is of course pickling. Now if you, like me, love vinegar and vinegary stuff, I overbought a whole lot of beetroot because it was on special, and I juiced most of it, but like the rest of it I didn't want to juice all of it. I wanted to save some of it because it is, it's delicious. I love beetroot, so I wanted to make a vinaigrette beetroot. So what I would do is I boiled the beetroot. I'm going to slice it up and put it in vinegar, and that will obviously pickle it, and the vinegar does help preserve it. So of course you can pickle egg. People in Croatia, Ukraine, Eastern Europe, Poland, Czechoslovakia, Czech Republic, Russia, I've had a lot of friends from there that I've lived with in London, and they taught me the art of pickling all sorts of things, from sauerkraut, cabbages, and the carrots and the cauliflower and all sorts of things. They would pickle it, so it actually tasted quite tasty. I would sometimes have nothing but rice and a whole lot of those pickles and nothing else, and it was so tasty. So yeah, definitely try pickling as well. The other way that you could preserve your food would be to not eat it. Yeah, that one took you by surprise, right? No, but I'm serious. If you want to save your food, one of the best ways is don't eat it. Eat as little as possible, and your family members will thank you for being considerate, not hogging and gluttonizing and devouring every single thing that you have. If you can, preserve some food by not eating it, lowering your intake, minimizing your portion. That really helps preserve food, so that's something handy as well. The other thing that will help you to preserve food is salt drying. Think of dried fish in salt. Here in South Africa we have snoek. That helps preserve food. The other thing that helps preserve food is canning. Now you can do the can. You can can food if you have the tools necessary, if you have an oven, if you have cans, if you have jars. And I think in that process you also need something like oil or vinegar or salted brine to can your food, and then you can do the can.
No one says you can't do the can.
The other thing is preventing air. So vacuum packing food really helps preserve food. If you have a vacuum sealer, definitely try and vacuum pack the same way Vienna's are vacuum packed, polognies, salamis, pastrami's, those things are vacuum packed. It stays fresher for longer because there's no oxygen. So one of the things that does decompose food is oxygen. The other thing is moisture. So you want to, of course, try to keep it cooked. Cooking also preserves foods longer. Refrigerating preserves foods longer. Freezing, we mentioned canning, we mentioned drying out foods, dehydrating foods like jerky, and of course taking out the air and the oxygen. Thank you so much. I hope that this has been helpful, at least in some sort of way. If you have ideas and something that's worked for you, please do drop me a comment in the comment section below, and let us all know what works for you. And we could try to, of course, get through this horrible piece of time without going hungry or having food go off, because it would be an absolute sad case if we had to waste the food that we spent so long and so hard trying to collect and store up, and that our families could eat. So yeah, we want to prevent loss and waste. And of course Allah hates waste, and food, if it gets scarce because in quarantine, is precious, and you want to make that last as long as possible. Let's share our ideas and get back to me. Let me know what works for you. Thank you so much.